In the heart of ancient Igbo land, nestled between the lush valleys of Nelly River and the dense whispering forest of Iknaib, lay the village of Oduoma, a place shrouded in mystery, where time was slow and stories were eternal. They called it the land where the sky bowed to the earth, where the ancestors still spoke in the rustling of leaves, and where the river was not just water, but a breathing spirit. The villagers of Oduoma had one sacred rule passed down through the ages. Do not touch the river at midnight. Do not whisper your name by its banks. And above all, do not fall in love with what rises from its depths. But generations forgot. Curiosity grew bold. And love became the bait. One full moon night, long after the last rooster had crowed and the wind carried the scent of ripening palm wine, something rose from the river. She was neither woman nor ghost. Her skin shimmered like flowing sapphire under the moonlight, her eyes held galaxies of pain and seduction, and her voice. Her voice could make a strong man forget his mother's name. Her name was Mirioma, meaning born of water. To the common eye, she was a goddess. To the spirit world, she was cursed. A banished deity, once loved by the river god, now sent to wander between worlds. And her hunger. Not for food. Not for gold. But for destinies. The first victim, Obina the palm wine tapper. Obina was the first to fall. He was known for his muscles, his laughter, and the way he climbed palm trees with the ease of a spider dancing on silk. The village girls whispered his name like a lullaby. But one night, while walking home from the bush, Obina heard her song. A melody so haunting, so drenched in longing, it made his soul ache. He followed the voice to the riverbank and saw her. Mirioma, draped in mist, her skin glowing with silver dew. She didn't speak. She only looked. And that look. It reached into the core of him, bypassing flesh, logic, and tradition. That night, Obina never returned. By morning, his body was found on the banks, cold, smiling, eyes wide open. But his spirit, his destiny, was gone. From that day, Obina's dreams became Mirioma's currency. She wore them like beads around her waist. Within a year, 7 more men vanished. Some were found dead. Others wandered the village, soulless, alive but empty. Husbands stopped loving their wives. Sons stopped respecting elders. The fields withered. The drums lost their rhythm. The elders gathered in fear. They threw cowries. They slaughtered goats. They summoned the Dibia, the village priest of spirits. And the Dibia said, "She is not just a spirit. She is a goddess wronged. She drinks futures like palm wine, and until her thirst is quenched, Oduoma will mourn." In a hidden hut at the edge of the village lived Momanjidika, an old blind woman with ears that heard the footsteps of spirits and a tongue that tasted lies in the wind. She warned them all. She comes not to kill. She comes to collect. And what she collects is the seed of generations. But the men of Oduoma, blinded by beauty, deaf to wisdom, kept falling. One by one. Each man who touched her body lost his path. Fishermen abandoned their boats. Hunters shot arrows into the wind. Fathers wept over sons who couldn't speak anymore. By the second planting season, the village became a shadow of itself. No births. No festivals. Only mourning cloths and wailing drums. Even the trees began to lean away from the river as if scared of her breath. The women cried to the gods. The children dreamt of drowning. The night became longer than the day. But still, Mirioma danced naked in the moonlight, her laughter echoing like a curse. She would rise from the river, step into the mist, and whisper, "Give me your best, and I will give you nothing." Just when the village had accepted its doom, a dream began to spread. First seen by the mad boy, Emeka, who drew stars on sand. Then by the twins, Ada and Yuzo, who hadn't spoken since their father disappeared. They all dreamed the same vision. A man cloaked in light, walking on the river. A staff in his hand. Fire in his eyes. And a voice that said, "The river will bow to truth." Mama Njidika heard it too. She lit her last candle, ground kola nut with her trembling hands, and whispered, "A man is coming. But he must not be touched by lust. His fate must be deeper than the river. Or she will drown him too." The next morning, strange occurrences rippled through Umuofia. The women of the village complained that their husbands, who had gone fishing at the river the night before, returned with glassy eyes and stumbled speech. Some moaned in their sleep, whispering names no one recognized. One by one, these men began to change. They became lethargic during the day, obsessed with returning to the river at night. A few abandoned their farms and work, losing interest in their families. Others sat by the river for hours, staring into the depths with vacant longing. Whispers spread in the market like wind through palm fronds. Is it a sickness? Or is it the spirit of the river, Ezenwani Miri? Maybe it's a curse, one we brought upon ourselves. Children noticed their father smiling to themselves, murmuring incoherent songs. Elders began meeting secretly in the shrine house, casting cowries and chalk, searching for answers. But no one dared say it out loud. The goddess is choosing her suitors. The chosen four. Among the first to fall under her spell was Obiora, a strong farmer with a young wife and 2 daughters. One night, he wandered into the river alone and was found the next morning, naked on the sand with a strange white marking across his chest, a serpent curled around a crown. Obiora couldn't speak for days. When he finally opened his mouth, all he did was chant a phrase over and over. "She is coming. She is here. She is the water and the fire." Others followed. Okonkwo the potter, Ezemwo the drummer, even Ogwefankem, a respected elder, all disappeared for nights and returned with that same glazed look and the serpent mark. And then their lives collapsed. Their crops died. Their animals perished mysteriously. Their wives became barren. Yet none of them seemed to care. They only wanted to return to her. A few villagers began to suspect the truth, that the river goddess was stealing destinies, draining the very essence of manhood and prosperity from each victim. Deep in the heart of the village, a humble boy named Modu, orphaned, quiet, and spiritually gifted, began to dream. In his dreams, he saw a beautiful woman standing in the middle of the river, her long braids like flowing roots, her eyes glowing like stars submerged beneath the surface. But her beauty was deceptive. Behind her smile, he saw rows of sharp teeth. Behind her laughter, 1,000 trapped voices cried for help. The spirits began to speak to him. "You will be the one to end her reign. But not without sacrifice." Modu, raised by a blind herbalist named Nena, started preparing sacred mixtures of udu leaves, red chalk, and python bones, whispering incantations passed down from the spirit realm. He didn't know exactly what his role would be, but he felt it burning in his bones. The villagers often said that Nedi River had a song, one that couldn't be heard with ordinary ears. Only the sensitive ones, the spiritually exposed, and those on the brink of personal ruin ever claimed to hear it. It was a song woven from longing, grief, power, and seduction. And it echoed in the deepest corners of a man's heart, whispering promises of ecstasy and greatness. And it was precisely that song that Obina heard the day he staggered back into Umuofia, disheveled, hungry, and desperate after losing his father's inheritance in a failed city venture. He didn't go home. He went straight to the river. The wind hissed low across the water, and the trees swayed in agreement as Obina dropped to his knees by the bank. Tears streamed down his cheeks, but he did not cry. He simply sat, breathing, listening. And then, he saw her. A woman, half submerged in the river. Her skin shimmered like fresh palm oil under moonlight, and her eyes held a light not of this world. Her long, coiling hair floated across the surface like tendrils of black smoke, and when she opened her mouth, no words came, only music. Obina rose slowly, entranced. "Come," she whispered in his mind. He stepped into the water. Back in the village, rumors had already begun. Kayameka, the palm wine tapper's wife, had found her husband naked and humming at dawn, staring blankly into the sun. He never spoke again. Amadi the butcher had vanished for 3 days and returned with a gleaming machete and no memory of where it came from. And Enzo Kwara, the oldest man in Umuofia, declared in front of the shrine that she had awakened. "She's claiming her children," he warned, thumping his staff. "And her children are many." But Obina was not like the others. He returned from the river different. His gait was confident, his skin radiated health, and his pockets soon jingled with coins he never explained. He built a new compound, married 2 wives within a year, and opened a strange business that no one could understand, but that everyone paid into. Yet behind his charm was a gaze too sharp, too knowing. It was as though he had seen something in the depth of the river that still stared back at him from within. And he wasn't alone. More men began disappearing. Some returned richer, quieter. Others never returned at all. And every time a new child was born, the village priest noticed a strange marking on the left shoulder of the boys, an inverted crescent wrapped in vines. The mark of Mami Ada. Then came the festival of new moons. The village gathered, dressed in white, as they always did, to honor their ancestors. Masquerades danced. Drums thundered. Palm wine flowed. But then, the river overflowed. Not with water, but with women. They emerged in dozens, beautiful, glowing, half human, half divine. They danced with the men, whispering names, revealing secrets no mortal should know. And one by one, the men followed them into the river, as if in a trance. Women screamed. Mothers wept. Priests collapsed. Even the chief's sons were among the procession. And at the center of it all, rising like a queen upon a lotus of glowing mist, was her. Mami Ada. Draped in gold cloth made of liquid starlight, her second mouth, hidden in her chest, open to speak 1,000 voices all at once. You cast me from womb to water. Now I gather my sons. Let the river feed on what the village refused. Then she was gone. and with her, half the village's men. Only one man dared defy her call that night. A prophet, newly arrived from the western lands, bearing a cross made from iroko wood and fire in his eyes. His name, Brother Chinedu. He stood by the riverbank, arms raised, screaming into the mist. You spirit of seduction! You marine masquerade! Your reign ends tonight. The river hissed. Lightning cracked. The battle for Umuofia's soul had begun. It began with thunder, deep, rolling, angry. The kind of thunder that didn't just shake rooftops but made the bones beneath skin shiver. Umuofia hadn't known a storm like this in decades. The trees bowed under invisible pressure. The wind whistled through empty compounds. Chickens refused to roost, and dogs howled without rest. But in the heart of that storm stood a man in white, his robe soaked, his Bible clutched tightly in one hand, and in the other, a wooden cross freshly carved from an iroko tree. Brother Chinedu was not born in Umuofia. He came from the western lands, Lagos by name, but fire by calling. Word of the cursed village had reached him through visions, not rumors. For 7 nights, he had dreamt of blood running through rivers, of men swallowed by laughter, of children being born with no eyes but mouths full of prophecy. And always at the center of it, a woman in water. A goddess. Mami Eda. The villagers had seen prophets before. They had seen madmen too. To most of them, Chinedu seemed a mixture of both. He spoke in tongues before dawn. He didn't eat the food he was offered. And he carried a lamp that never needed oil. But there was one thing that made them listen. The spirits feared him. When he stepped into a shrine, idols cracked. When he laid hands on the sick, worms crawled out of their wounds and died in the dirt. When he prayed at night, the witches wailed in the hills. And so, when Mami Eda rose and half the village's men walked into the river, the villagers had only one person left to run to. He didn't hesitate. Brother Chinedu stood at the edge of Nedi River, as the last ripples of the goddess's disappearance faded. He called out, not with fear, but authority. Spirit of lust. Marine deceiver. I do not come in my name, but in the name of He who made the heavens and the deep. The ground trembled. A scream rose from beneath the waters, not one voice, but many. And then, she answered. Not in human form this time, but as a storm. The river exploded upward like a geyser, and from within it, Mami Eda rose, not beautiful this time, but monstrous. Her hair had turned into snakes, her skin darkened like molten coal. Her eyes were twin whirlpools spinning in opposite directions. Around her floated spirits, drowned men, their mouths open, eyes glowing, whispering praises in forgotten tongues. You dare challenge the covenant, she hissed. Chinedu lifted his cross, and the wind died instantly. I break every covenant made in ignorance, sealed in sin, and written in blood. He plunged the cross into the soil. The earth screamed. Lightning struck the river. Spirits flew into the air, shrieking. A whirlwind formed around them. It wasn't just a battle, it was a war of thrones.